Everybody. This is Michael with Los Angeles. So I'm going to wait for people to start getting in. You can see in the background, you can guess where I am. Maybe you can see the sun coming up if I do this. Yeah, I'm in Bangkok, Thailand right now. For those that don't know, we do digital marketing, specifically in Los Angeles. That's where I'm from. And I'm going to talk to you today about telling your personal story. So we'll give just a couple more minutes to see if people are in here. Yeah, so right now it is 7 a.m. And this is my apartment in the background. All right, so like I said, what I want to talk about is telling your personal story. It's really important nowadays with your brand just to be as honest as you can with the public and with your new clients. That's what Facebook Live's all about. That's what these new Instagram story apps are all about, is finding ways to get kind of behind the scenes or just finding any ways you can to connect with your audience. So I'm going to be talking about how to do that, how to get over your fears about talking about it, and how to emphasize the benefits that your business has. One thing with small businesses is, well, you're smaller than a lot of your competitors. So when you're in a competitive capitalist market, we are very aware and we should be very aware of what our competitors are doing. So it can be easy to kind of shy away from telling our story because of fear that maybe we're going to appear less than our competitors. But really, silence is the enemy. So if we can't do that, then can't tell our story, then no one can connect with us. And really, that's what it's all about, people connecting with us. So as I said, I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. And I used to live in the US. I started my business in Los Angeles, and I come from a real estate background. So I was actually an assistant for 3 different agents in Los Angeles. And then when my wife, who is from Paris, she was living with me in Los Angeles, when we found out we were having our first son, we decided we wanted to go have it in France. So hi to the person that just showed up. If you want to give your name and say where you are, then that would be great. We can talk in this comments section here. So if you have any questions or anything, I will definitely be watching and answer them. So as I was saying, we're here to learn about telling your story for your brand and why it's important. And I was just going into details about my personal story. So I come from a real estate background. I was assisting for 3 different agents before in Los Angeles before my wife and I found out we were having our son. And she's Parisian, so we decided to move to France and have our son there. She had lived with me for a year, so it was time I go discover her culture. So I transitioned my business to online, and one of my clients followed me over, and 2 of my clients didn't follow me over. So I got lucky that I had one, but it forced me to really work hard to do this kind of expat business life. So with that, then we spent a year in France and then ended up moving to Bangkok. My wife has her business online as well. So when we moved to Bangkok, we now have a nanny for our son, and we're able to really focus on our business. So we gave ourselves a lot of time, and this is our year to really nail it down before we go start traveling other places. So with my particular situation, I really wanted to talk to you guys about fear, about telling your story, and the perceived negativities involved with your business, and also accentuating what your strengths are. So for me, I'm a small business. I'm mostly a business of one. I have one other part-time employee that's in Los Angeles. And for me, really, what I can do with that is I can really emphasize my customer service. I can emphasize my ability to be available for my clients and to give them super tailored work. Really intricate blog posts. I really know my clients really well, so I can write with their voice. And you know, since I'm a boutique agency, that means that I can really get to know my clients, and that really is a benefit when dealing with customers. If there's an agency that has 300 clients, well, they can't know their clients as well as I can. I've seen other agencies that do the same kind of thing as me, and really their stuff it's just less focused. It's a little bit more generic and general, where since I'm smaller, I can get in there and do social media, do these kinds of things from these people's perspective in a hyper-focused way, because I only deal with Los Angeles clients. So for me, I took that kind of small person mentality and made it into a benefit. The other thing that was kind of a fear for me is, like I said, I'm in Bangkok, so I can't meet face-to-face with my clients as much. And that was the big thing where I was kind of like not telling my story, not getting out there as much because of this fear. And, you know, I know a lot of other businesses that do that same thing. And but, you know, I have perceived benefits too because of that. And one of my benefits that I have is that I can be less expensive than my competitors, because since I'm in Bangkok, I have I don't have to have as many living expenses as I am in Los Angeles. So I can pass that on, and that's a big benefit for me. So what I say to you is, can you think of those kind of things? Can you think of those strengths that you have that other people don't, and use it to tell your story? And can you also identify those weaknesses that are holding you back from speaking and finding the way to tell your story? And, you know, I think maybe this medium isn't always good for every type of business, but there's a lot of ways you can do that. And, you know, I wanted to give some examples. There's lots of different ways this manifests. And, you know, one of them, Apple started doing this. And one thing I really noticed is when they came out with the Apple Watch. My wife loves every single gadget that comes out. And so before it was even out, she had it pre-ordered, and she was showing me videos of it and trying to get me excited because she wanted me to have one too. And, you know, I'd seen videos of the software and what it could do. And, you know, really all the apps and everything, I kind of glazed over a bit just because it's the same thing as the iPhone. And it wasn't really that big of a deal to me. And then I saw this video of them smelting gold. And they were showing like the process of them actually making the watch. And all of a sudden it caught my attention. You know, it was like, we see this like perfect device. We see this perfect product that's given to us at the very end. But what's also interesting to us is how that product is made. So, you know, they had like the care that went into it, and their kind of like supply chain that they had. And it just kind of showed like how much like love and energy they put into this whole thing. So even though that really had nothing to do with the product too much, it's like the story that really grabbed me. And so, you know, that's one way you can do that kind of stuff. Just take behind the scenes pictures, or maybe if you throw an event, then you can show pictures from your event, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with, you know, what kind of services you offer, but people can connect to it, and they like it. So one of the stories that I wanted to tell you is about an agent that I used to work with, and he did stuff also with marketing for large new development complexes. And he didn't want those two worlds to touch, the real estate and that new development market. And he didn't want his new development people to know that he was selling real estate. And it was, yeah, I feel like it made it so he couldn't talk about all of the things he was doing. And to me, it made him more intelligent and more interesting. And it gave him a new perspective, a marketing perspective on real estate. And also, it was just this interesting, super cool thing that he was doing on these, multi-million, $100 million projects that he couldn't tell his real estate people about. And it was like a fear-based thing. And so I knew that, and, I just think that he could have done it differently. And it's just, there's a personal fear that comes with this kind of stuff that other people just don't see. So if you're wondering how you can do this, if you identify that fear, and then you can talk to your friends or other business people that you respect, they're going to kind of identify that for you, and you're going to be able to just make it so you're not going to share with your audience. So, yeah, where was I? I have a little sheet of notes here. So, I've seen this with some other agents as well, some that are in acting, and they don't want those two worlds to mix, but they really help out. And we have someone on here right now, Martin, who is actually an agent that just moved to LA from Palm Springs. I think he used to live here before. And I was talking to you, and you have your own vintage clothing company called Americano, and you're running both. And I think that's a super cool way to brand yourself. There's lots of real estate agents in Los Angeles, but there's probably none that also sell vintage clothes and have a vintage clothing line. And that's a way for you to connect with people. Some people love that kind of stuff, and so if they know you're doing that, they're going to remember you. They're going to be like, oh yeah, Martin, he's that guy that also is selling vintage clothes. So that kind of thing. Actually, I think Facebook Live could be really good for someone like you. I know you're already doing, yeah, no worries. I know you're already doing stuff with Instagram and Facebook. So, just an idea for you is you could do a kind of like fashion show, kind of like fun thing with your Facebook Live, and just show some of the cool stuff. People would love it. And one of the things with Facebook Live is Facebook is really pushing it. So there's all kinds of complaints through the business community about people not having their stuff seen because they stump the algorithm a bit. So, you may only be getting 5%, maybe if you're lucky 10%, because they want to sell some advertising to you. But they really like the Facebook Live. So if you're doing that, you're going to get more of an audience that chimes in. And so when I'm done with this, it's also going to go up on my Facebook page so people can see it later. So even if you go and do it, hi Louise. Salutations from Bangkok. Welcome from Ecuador. Very cool that you're here. So as I was saying, people can still see it after you do the live event. And you can also throw that up on YouTube as well. So it makes sense. Another thing I was thinking is you can find ways to cross-promote your business. And maybe you do a video of yourself in your vintage clothes at one of your listings, or do some sort of fashion photo shoot in front of one of your houses. I don't know. You can make it fun. But that's the other thing, is finding ways to tell your story. And there's lots of ways you can do that. One of the good ones is through blog post writing. I think it's really underrated in the real estate industry specifically, and a lot of industries. And it's really important, especially if you have your own website, which I suggest because it's really good for SEO, but it's also really good for people just getting to know you. When you have a really expensive sale, like a house, you need to give people time to get to know you. And maybe they really like you, but they aren't going to buy for a while. So if you have blog posts and that kind of thing, they can check in with you and be interested in what you're doing, even though they're not necessarily going to buy a house right now. And I see that so often in social media, is that agents are just posting their listings up online, on Twitter, on these places, just sale, 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 without trying to connect with their audience. And really, that's what they want. They want to know that you have a baby, or that you used to live in Palm Springs, or that you did this, because they're going to find connections with you. They're going to find ways to relate to you. And once you have that, that's someone that's going to remember you and remember your business. So another way to do that is just to start having fun with it. So I'm always trying to get my agents to go out and snap a photo of them in front of a house, because if you have a photo of a beautiful lake with a mountain, right? And if you have the same photo with two people in it, the photo with two people in it is so much more interesting than just the photo of the mountain and the lake. And the same thing goes for real estate. The same thing goes for interesting, for everything. It's just more interesting if there's a story, if there's people involved. So if you're taking photos of your house, then put some photos of yourself in it too. And maybe they're not going to be the photos that go up in the MLS, probably not. But I think that for Instagram and that kind of stuff, it's great. People like it, and your Instagram feed and all that isn't so dead then. And I'm seeing, I know, Martin, I saw you post about that. I think it's $100 million home, maybe the most expensive home on the market right now. But they did a great video, and they actually had live actors in it. And I think we're going to be seeing that a lot more in the high-end luxury field, because it's interesting. It's interesting than just a dead house, because people can picture themselves in it. I mean, that one was pretty ridiculous. It had a helicopter in it, and people drinking champagne and everything else. But I think there's ways that we can all integrate that and help people picture themselves in their house. And we can find other ways to do that with our businesses. So this is actually called brand journalism, and it's really going to be a new important thing. And people like it too in all industries, because it's not so coiffed, it's not so perfectly. It's not perfected, so it feels more real. One example I can give of this that's maybe a pioneer of this is comedy. It used to be back in the day of people telling jokes. People would stand up and they would say their jokes, and that would be it. They would say their name, but they wouldn't necessarily get too personal. And now, if you do that today, you're dead. All of the great comedians now are just telling stories. And that's because that's what people want to hear. That's what people want to engage in. They want honesty. They're lied to a lot through all different areas, and they want to feel like they know you, and that builds trust when they feel like they know where you're coming from, and when they understand who you are and who your business is. And that's also going to make them more loyal to you, because they're going to have an emotional bond to who you are. So, do we have any questions about any of this? I'm happy to make this into more of a conversation and make some fun like that. But if not, that's okay. Oh, I see my family coming out to enjoy the pool. For those that didn't hear, I'm not in Los Angeles. If you can see the sunlight behind me, I'm actually in Bangkok, Thailand. I do run my business from here, and I love it. My wife is from Paris. She actually has her business in Paris, running Airbnb rentals, and she also is a travel blogger. So we both love to travel. So we're finding a way we can make it all work. Oh, yeah. My son is here to say hi. Say hi. Hi. You're live. Say hi to Facebook. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's one of the other beauties is I get to be around him a lot more. I don't have a commute, and I get to hang out with my son all the time. So, yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, I can talk more about what I'm excited about as far as my business. One of the things that I'm just getting started to launch, and if you're a small business that isn't necessarily in real estate, I think you'll be really interested in this, is I'm going to be launching tribes. And what that's going to be is small businesses in Los Angeles that are going to connect and help each other out. So it's going to be a Facebook group, and I'm going to be pairing businesses by businesses that can connect and cross-promote with each other. So if there's two businesses in Santa Monica, then they're going to be together. And if there's, if there's an interior designer and a real estate agent, I'm going to try and put them together so they can kind of get together and figure stuff out. If there's a photographer, I'm going to want like a photographer in every different tribe. And really, this is one of the big things is they're going to help each other with their Facebook business pages. So they're going to be commenting on stuff, liking stuff, and helping them build up in their algorithm. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I wouldn't be able, I'm responding to your comment, Martin. I wouldn't be able to do my business if it wasn't for things like Facebook and email and everything like that. And, this new live thing is, it really makes it nice. And hopefully I can get into talking about some of the real estate out here and help people who want to grow their referral business, their international business. That maybe that's in the cards for the future, but not yet right now. But back to the tribes thing. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be something that's hyper local, and the idea is to help each other grow their social media and get better at it. A lot of times people are just going to tell you the stuff they like, and they're just not going to bother being negative or give you critique. They just don't have time. But if you have a small tribe, they can say, hey, I've done this way, and I like it better. And you can do the same thing for them. And so you have this kind of like team that has your back. And since they're in your own backyard, then we can start doing PR stuff together with them. So I'm going to be helping to mentor with that kind of PR thing. If an ice cream store is having their grand opening and they're in the group, I have an ice cream store that's interested. That's the fun of Facebook Live. So this is my pool in the background, and I'm a mix of awesome and janky. I'm actually on a box of Pampers right now. I'm on like a table, but I propped it up to be higher on a box of Pampers. So that's how I'm doing it. So like I was saying, the businesses actually will be able to help each other out. And, if the ice cream store is having their grand opening, then everyone's going to go to it. They're going to invite everyone. And now you automatically have 10 to 15 people that are going to be there. And hopefully they're going to promote it too. They're going to say, hey, everyone, there's this great new business coming out. and we have it. Same thing with if someone has an open house, then people are going to say, hey, there's this great home, go out and check it out. And then maybe we can even get into some cross-promoting of businesses. So maybe an interior designer is bringing in an element they have from their collection or something and putting it in the house. And or an artist, maybe he's going to hang a piece on the wall in the house or something. And then it's going to make the open house that much more interesting, and also show off this great artist's art. So I think that kind of stuff is what really excites me. It just makes everything more interesting. And I know if it excites me, it's going to excite our audiences as well, because they want to see that kind of stuff, and they want to see you connecting with businesses out there as well. And it really just strengthens the story. So that's really taking it to another level of not just telling your story of where you came from, but then actively having a story and having something interesting to show people. And once you start really exploring the possibilities of social media, it's going to really push you to do more interesting things, because you're going to need more stuff to talk about. So I wanted to share with you one app that I've been using, and I really like it. It's called Google Primer, and it's specifically for marketing. It's something that Google put out, and it's really cool. It's an app, and it just starts asking you questions about your business. It says, how big is your business, and what kind of stuff are you selling? It's mainly yes or no questions or categories that help you kind of like define your business in your head. It'll say, are you more of a service? Are you more of a product? Would you say that you want your customers, your employees, to adhere to a strict code of ethics or not? So it's asking these brand personality questions, and then it makes a recommendation to you. So one of the first things was about, which actually gave me the idea and actually helped me push to do this, was they said there's two different ways to talk about your business. And one of them is to tell your story, which I'm talking about here. And the other one is to talk about a cause. So let's see, they gave an example. It was like Odwalla or something like that, who's like a health juice company. And so they give to inner city youth, and they help like food programs become healthier at school lunches, that kind of thing. So that's something that they branded themselves as a health company, and then we're supporting the community in that way. So then they would have these events where they were teaching about health and that kind of thing. So that's part of their branding. So they aren't talking so much about the story of how Odwalla started, but they're talking about how these programs that they're doing. And I don't think you have to do one or the other, but if you keep it in mind, you pick a focus, and then you can weave in some of the other elements into it. But if you have the focus, then you can. There's a lot of great things. That was just one of them on that app, but I definitely recommend downloading it and trying it, because it will give you options of which like modules to kind of take. And then based on your answers, it will give you brand examples of who's doing that. So one of them is about like mobile app design, and it helps you decide whether or not your mobile app is up to snuff with what it should be. So because of that, I'm going to be doing some redesigns on my mobile site and things like that. Hey David, yeah, great. Check it out, and then let me know how you like it. There's lots of great resources out there. Google's always coming out with new cool stuff like that. There's also kind of meetups through Google now. They're doing like free universities, free meetups. So I definitely recommend checking that kind of stuff out, because they're really trying to help people, because it helps them, it helps people if they know how to use their SEO, and they're kind of the person you're trying to impress when you're trying to get up in rankings. So might as well listen to them. So one of the other things I wanted to to mention is Google has this new thing called AMP. And if you are writing blog posts or you're thinking about it, then definitely get to know what it is. And if you know about, Facebook does the same thing that you see in some posts. If you're on mobile, this is all from mobile, they'll have a little lightning bolt next to it. And when you click it, the link just pops up like that. It just loads and you don't have to wait. And this all comes from studies. They're finding that people just do not want to wait around for the articles to load. If it takes longer than, I think, 8 to 10 seconds, they're just gone. So you can integrate these kind of tools into what you're already doing. And, it's just another thing that I recommend looking into because it helps your business. And that's what we want. We want people to see your stuff. Can't really tell your story if people aren't watching. So, has anything? Is this making sense to anyone? Does anyone have anything they want to say about it? Does this give anyone ideas? Or does anyone want to talk about any fear that they have about possibly telling their story? I think that being said, there is a way to be, to tell your story in a proper way. And, one of the things, 250 million, what is that? Is that the price of the property, or how much money you want to make this year? What I was saying is, I think there's a lot of political stuff going on right now, and I think that's the kind of stuff that people need to be careful about. And one issue that's really coming up, I know everyone probably knows about how Uber got kind of dragged into this situation, and I don't know all the details about it, so I don't want to talk too much into it, but I feel like it gets really hard in that kind of political dynamic. I know one of them, like Chick-fil-A, they made their whole story, not their whole story, but I know they were giving money to some Prop 8, yes on Prop 8, anti-gay kind of thing, and they pissed off a lot of people, but they also gained a following from people who are really staunchly against that. And I'm not saying that that's right to do at all necessarily, but I will say, as far as they weren't afraid to piss people off, and I think that there's always going to be people that like and I'm not condoning that kind of thing at all, but I'm just using it as an example of there's always going to be people that like and don't like what you're saying, what you're doing. There might be people that don't like that I'm not in Los Angeles, but those people weren't going to work with me anyway. And there's people that are, going to see the opportunity in that, going to see the benefit of that, and those are the people that I want to talk to. So there's so much PC in the world. I think that there's room for people to express their views. And, you always want to do it in a polite way. But I think that people should get into expressing their views a little bit more, especially if they're positive and supportive of people. Back to a little bit about the immigration thing, I think some brands are really going to be dragged into it. And I know it's already happening. And I think that's really hard for some of them to actually have to actively participate in this conversation. And it will kind of like mark them as one way or another, which really sucks in some degrees because, I think that differentiating or separating people is never good for businesses. Saying that yes to you and no to you, no to you excluding people is never what a business wants to do. Now maybe they might want to say I enjoy this kind of thing, and I would love to connect with more people that enjoy this kind of thing. I think that's perfectly fine. So, if you come from a certain ethnicity, if you say, I am this ethnicity, I'm from Ecuador, I'm from these places, then you're going to get Ecuadorians that are going to be like, oh, hey, I'm here too. I totally want to talk with you and figure out what you have to do, what you're doing. And I think that's fine. That's a positive way of doing that. As long as you're not saying like, I don't want Canadians. Just if you're Canadian, I have a problem with you. Obviously, you maybe don't want to do that. Martin, I'm still wondering, what is $250 million? Is that the price of that home that we've both been talking about, that everyone's been talking about? Yeah, I have one agent who has a property coming to market right now, and he was getting it all ready. So he was doing an estate sale and getting it all ready. And that's one of the ways that we're kind of doing behind the scenes now, is I'm having him take pictures of everything he's doing, and then I'll get on a phone conversation and have him type up. I will type up exactly what he did, and we'll kind of tell the story of getting their house ready. And it's helping people follow along with the story, but also people that are interested in possibly selling their house. They're going to see kind of what it takes to get a home ready. And I know it's something that agents specifically deal with, because some people, maybe they don't understand how important staging is in a really competitive market like Los Angeles. And maybe they just aren't ready to do that kind of work. But if they see from start to finish how it's done, and how you as an agent handle it hands-on and make it easy for them, then I think that can be one of the things where they start picturing themselves selling their house, and it can be really good. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. Yeah, one of the things that I'm going to be trying to do is figuring out more ways that I can connect out here with real estate and marketing people, and try to bring some of that knowledge here back to Los Angeles, because I am going to keep Los Angeles my focus, but there's a huge startup community out here that has a lot of really great knowledge, so I'm going to be trying to tap into that and bring it back here, and that's going to be a way that I can kind of tell my story, help people remember who I am, and bring some good knowledge back. I want to talk about this in another way. When probably about 6 months ago, I was rebranding. So when I started my business and I was in Los Angeles, I was MJB Marketing, which is my initials, Michael John Burge. And I did it just because I was getting people on board that already knew me, and it just, it made sense. I was trying to get everything started, and so I did that. But I decided I wanted to rebrand, and one of the reasons I wanted to rebrand is because I wanted to. Initially, I was going to be Green Raja. So I have a travel blog called Green Raja, and it's separate from my business. And I talk about travel. I talk about green travel. I like to go interview farmers, small businesses on the way, people that are doing interesting things, yoga, just all the stuff I'm interested in. It's very unfocused. I let myself just be kind of all the things I'm interested in. And I almost named my business Green Raja Marketing. And I was going to just bring everything in, bring my blog in, and just make it completely transparent. And because I really wanted to have my clients do that same thing. And, then what happened is I started my Instagram, and I started this Instagram called Los Angeles, and it was going to be high-end properties, and I was going to feature properties I really liked, and then also feature all the homes of my clients. So I was going to get a ton of users, and my clients have their own Instagrams, but this was going to be something separate that was just going to be, huge, just everyone's amazing listings, and I was going to put my clients' listings up next to, and my clients' listings are amazing too, but they're not a $250 million home, which people like. People love to see these huge, mega Los Angeles listings. So it was just going to kind of raise the pedigree of my clients' listings. And that started going really well. And I started talking to my agents about it. And I floated the idea across of, well, maybe instead of Green Raja Marketing, I should just be Los Angeles. Because my whole clientele is in Los Angeles. Everyone at that time was luxury real estate agents. And it kind of reinforced the fact that I was in LA and hyper-focused in LA. So while Green Raja would have been better for me, Los Angeles ended up being better for my clients. And at the end of the day, I decided that that's what mattered, is to show my current clients that I'm dedicated to Los Angeles, and show my future clients that I'm also dedicated to Los Angeles. And I think that that's really important for my target audience, which is small businesses and people that are in business for themselves. Because especially with real estate, people want to know that you know the area. They want to know that you know each individual street, the home that they live in, the home, how much the value is of the home that's right next to theirs. They want to know if there's a new development coming in, on Sunset that's going to block their view. They want to know that you know the area and what's coming up, what's coming down the pipeline. And I think that a large agency is just not the way to go for marketing with these kinds of businesses. For local small businesses, they need local small business marketing. And it's just so much better. I'm actually posting a lot of things for people, and my agent stuff posts as well. And we kind of work off each other. I coach, as well as putting up postings. And I'm able to do that. We're able to bounce ideas off each other because I really understand what's going on in Los Angeles. So it just makes it that much better if I can have that focus. And now coming online with this tribe thing, it's going to be even better because we're going to get even more information, and hopefully instead of finding articles online, we're going to be actually bringing stuff to people that they didn't know about. We're going to be creating new things for people to go to, and it's going to be really exciting. You're going to want to log on to Facebook and these things more if you have a community on there that's rooting for you, and if you have a support system. I'm already in a couple of these groups now, specifically for marketing, but they're all over the place. There's a couple now you can join too that are in Los Angeles that are nice, but they're really big groups, and I'm already learning tons of new stuff just from there. All new apps, new websites, that kind of thing. So I definitely recommend checking it out. These Facebook groups are amazing. For instance, we moved to Bangkok. They had this in Los Angeles too, but here in Bangkok they have an expat group, and pretty much anything we need to know, I'll just post it on there. How to get a bank account, the best restaurants, and people just put up all their answers. If we need a good place for printing, or if we're looking for a piece of furniture or whatever, we just post it on there. Since there's thousands of people, they just tell you exactly what you're looking for. So I recommend using these online resources to do that. Another thing that I want to talk to you about is as far as like storytelling tools. You really need to find what works for you, what you like, and what makes sense for your business. But most importantly, what you have fun with. And, let's say you want to blog, but you don't like to write. You're in LA, you have to sit in traffic for hours. Well, if you just start toying around with some voice dictation apps, you probably will end up having a lot of fun, and you can make it part of your routine while you're sitting in your car after you make your phone calls or whatever you do, to sit there and write out a blog article and get stuff done while you're sitting in traffic. There's lots of good ones. There's Siri. You can write with Siri into a note, so you can do that one. Dragon is the best one. You're going to get less errors and things on your dictation. You have to pay a little bit more for it, but that one's good. You can do it through Google Voice as well. And I think Bear, there's like a new writing app called Bear, and I think you can do it through there too. So there's lots of options, and once you start just getting all that stuff down, you're going to get better and better at telling your story. So I see we have a couple people still on. If you're new, please introduce yourself, and if not, feel free to ask questions. Okay, well, if not, I'm gonna sign off. If you're watching this after the fact, then you can still ask me questions, post any comments, and I will try to answer them. Well, I won't try, I'm going to answer them. So yeah, go ahead. Any feedback is much appreciated. And yeah, it's been fun. So yeah, have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for tuning in on a Friday afternoon. And yeah, have a great weekend.